Okay, perfect. Welcome everyone joining us in person and online. I'm Nick, the P2P Committee Technical Supervisor, accompanied by Rancy, the P2P Technical Assistant. Very lucky to have her on board with the P2P Committee. Rancy has how many years at Microsoft? 9 years at Microsoft. So if you want years worth of tech tips, you're going to get them. So we're launching, I know last semester the students really valued the weekly tech tips. We didn't bring them back just yet, but we were preparing the series of tech workshops. And trust me, you'll have a lot to go home with these sessions. So we are recording these. That way you can rewatch them. Perhaps if you misunderstood something, you can watch it again later. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us during the session using the chat function. You can also raise your hand and I will let you speak. This session should last around an hour, and I guess we can get started. So Rancy, when you're ready.
Sure. Thanks so much, Nick, and that was a great introduction. Yeah, I think I was, delighted to see that Concordia when I started pursuing my graduate studies. I saw M365, and I was really happy because M365 was my bread and butter, like you said, for 9 years. There are many features to M365. It's like a whole suite of products that's available. I'm quite sure there are some of us who have already seen some parts of M365, and there are many of us who may be using Google or any other products for SaaS, which is software as a service. But we thought that since we are Concordia students and we have a whole lot of things that are available to us, like Google, we have our own campus, and then we have M365. So we thought, with that in mind, that let's start this term with M365. So I'm hoping my screen is visible online as well. I'm just going to walk through the agenda of what we're going to cover. Like Nick said, it would last for approximately an hour, maybe 10 minutes here and there. But I'll try to stick to time because there's a lot of things to cover. But what I would encourage is that if you like a certain feature within M365 and you think it was too short for me to describe, we are more than open, both me and Nick, to take a request on giving an extensive session on that particular feature. So for now, for today, in fact, we'd be covering, I'll start with an overview of what's M365, what does it have. Then I would take you to M365 dashboard, which is also like maybe a shortcut for you to access a lot of features that is offered by M365. And then we would look at, we've tried to group these services or these features in M365 based on on what we want to do as students. For example, if we want to increase productivity, then we would introduce apps for productivity, and then what we can use for our homework, assignments, etc. So that would fall under apps for utility, and then we'd speak about content management, project management. Finally, I would also like to just have a quick tour of how you can find information that's relevant to you, what you're looking for, using features of M365 and other, Bing, which is also a Microsoft product, because there's I have found worthwhile search capabilities embedded in both M365 and Bing. Okay, so with that, let's start with overview of M365. What you see is basically a few features that we have listed out based on the grouping like I spoke about. But M365 is not restricted to these 10 to 12 features that you're seeing on your screen. It's a lot more than that, but I've just tried to include those which are useful for students. So what you see is mailing, calendar, which I'm hoping we have used, at least most of us. Teams, well, most of you are on Teams already. Forms, whiteboard. So this would help us to now there are certain features which can even overlap, like right, for instance, forms. You could use forms even for as a utility if you'd want to. Say, let's say you want to create a survey for one of your projects or one of your research work. So it kind of overlaps as well. And so in content management, we'll specifically talk about SharePoint, OneDrive, and there's something called as Delve. Really quickly, I'll walk you through that. And then we talk about project management features, To Do and Planner, but it would be, again, not very extensive. Just a heads up on that, because these are Planner specifically is a vast product of M365, and it's good to use if you're working, you're doing sort of integration with your teams. You have a team channel, you have a planner, you have, so all of this can work really well. And we'll talk more about our plans, like Nick said, about our next tech sessions. So that's a very brief overview of what is available in M365 for us as students. Now, I'd like to take you through the dashboard. I'm hoping most of you are aware of how to access M365 dashboard. The quickest way to do is with office.com, which I guess you can see on your screen right now. There are some other ways to access as well. For example, old school folks like me, I still use something called as portal.office.com, because that's what it used to be way back, years back. But if you browse with that, it will still lead you to the same page. So when you land on your page, this is very contextual and very user specific. So what I'm seeing is definitely something which you would not see, with respect to content. Of course, the ribbons and other accessibility features would be the same, but what you see, for example, I see something called as recommended, quick access, etc. So content within these tabs or these sections would be relevant to me, because these are the content that I have worked on. So your home page or your landing page, which is how we call it, would have recommended files or content and quick access to the content that you have recently accessed, or to the content which is shared with you, or which you have marked as favorite or you're following, because you can definitely decide to make any of your content favorite as well. So that's that. And then let me first walk you through with what you would see with respect to your settings or personalization that you can do with your dashboard. So, for example, when I come to my pic, I click on my picture. I would see certain tabs. I'll walk you through this, my Microsoft 365 profile, when I talk about content management, SharePoint, and OneDrive. But then I see view account. If I click on that, notice that first it would whatever links that you click on would open a new tab or different tab. So you don't have to worry about what was there in your original tab that you were working on. But this would basically give you options that you can set with respect to if you want to reset your password for your M365, you want to know what devices are connected to, you want to set some privacy setting, for example, your language. Since we are in Quebec, so obviously, bilingual is obviously existing over here. But so if somebody wants to add preferred languages even, so you can do that. So what this does not just for M365, it's also for your other websites. By other websites, I mean, if you go to, let's say your OneDrive site or which we'll talk about, your SharePoint site, we'll talk about differences as well. They will show up the content in your preferred language. So if someone's preferred language is French, it would show all of it, even M365 dashboard, everything in that preferred language. So you can have multiple languages as well. It depends on your preferred language here, plus your browser language also. So there's dependability. I won't go in that much of technical troubleshooting right now, but just for FYI, what it depends on. Then you can also look at Office apps, wherein you want to download, install some apps. I have not explored it honestly too much, but like it says, you can install with your license up to on 5 devices, right? So so let's say if you do, then you can also see on what devices it's already installed on. I have not, I have, of course, I have Office, but I have not activated my license with Concordia's domain. I have purchased my own. So I'm using that. That's why you don't see my devices listed over here. But let's suppose that you had downloaded Office client, and it will ask you to activate, because wow, license keys is an old thing now. What works everywhere is subscription based. So if you install Office for the first time, it will ask you, hey, activate Office. And when you activate Office, if you put in your Concordia credential, it will activate Office with your Concordia, and then it will show you your device. So like that, you can do it on your five devices if you want to. So that's about what you can find when you go to my account. Again, very quickly, just for revision, click on a picture, go to your account, and you can make your personalized settings over there. Then coming to settings, if you want to set some theme, for example, I've set this theme, you want to set something else, you can do that personalization as well. Language is the same thing. That's the beauty also. I mean, I call it beauty, that you can do a lot of things in M365 from various places, right? So what I showed you from your my settings or my account is pretty much the same thing that you can do. It's like a quick link option where you can add languages. You can change to dark mode, etc., if that's your preference. So that's about settings. And then what you see, the other thing that you see is my day. It will show you basic your calendar and your to-do list, which we will cover in a bit when I come to the productivity section. Okay, that's about that. And then coming to what are the options that are available on the left-hand side. So this, we also call it as quick launch bar. So in the quick launch bar, you see, of course, you're on the home page or landing page, but then you see other options like plus, which is create, or new content if you want to create. My content, that's your existing content. Apps that you can access, and then these other apps are the ones that a user usually uses. For example, I have used these for the most. That's why I see, Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel. You would mostly find Outlook and Teams always, because that's mostly used, but others would depend on your usage of the apps in M365. Okay, so before I go to this, like I said, what you see, observe over here, what you see is your content, for example, recommended. Now this is all analytics, which is playing a role over here. So it's not something that a user decides that what should be here, like the name suggests, recommended. It just sees what we recently worked on, the user recently worked on. It would just show you that content. For example, I worked on this Excel sheet, this Word file, so it's showing me that. Then if I look at quick access, I would see pretty much everything. All is like all the content, not just my Office content, but even some other stuff. Like, for example, this was a recording that we had worked on a couple days ago. So that is also showing up. Then I'm seeing my Sway pages. This is I'll talk about Sway in a bit, but Sway page that I had created. So it's not restricted to just the Office apps. It's like literally like the name suggests, any content that a user has worked on, it would show over here. And then you can just click on see all my content and everything would be there. Then then there's section like recently opened, shared, etc. You can also customize your access preference over here. For example, I want to see content from one of my let's say from one of all of my cloud files. What's a cloud file versus local file? I think we can have a separate session on OneDrive. That would be the best to talk about difference between certain technicalities of these verbiages that is used by Microsoft. But anyways, you can decide to add you know uh, 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 for example, I want to see file by one of my colleagues within one of my courses, right? Or maybe I want to see files created by my professor. So I can just add that person's name. And if that file is I have access to, we can talk about permissions and authorization also in the session with SharePoint. But I would see those files. So basically just think of it like I want to see files that are shared with me or I have access to by some individual. I can customize that part as well. So I don't have to just live with or stick with what I get out of the box. I can customize it. So that's about this page. Then coming to my content is just a bigger version of what I just spoke about. You just see a lot of things over here, like recently opened, same thing, but you can do something called as browse by people and meetings as well. What does this mean? For example, we are in this meeting now. And now in this meeting, let's say Nick shares some content with us, like, hey, this is something you guys, I want you to see. So that content would be visible here as well, because you were part of this meeting. Whoever has joined the meeting on Teams meeting, that content is automatically accessible to you because you were part of that meeting. We have a team session exclusively in that we'll speak more about it, content sharing in team meetings, but that content is visible under browse by meeting. So that's what it means. Then talking about plus or creating new files, new content for yourself. Notice that what you see on the first section or portion of the page is pretty much everything. Again, not restrictive to just Office content. You also see a form. You can create a new MS form for survey. You can create quizzes using, again, forms. It shows you different type of content coming from different type of app. For example, workbook is Excel, form and quiz are from forms, and then whiteboard, drawing, pages. You want to create, you want to start recording really quickly. All of this would you can just do it quickly from here. Now the question arises, I'm not going to ask, just simply answer it myself, is that if I create this, where does it go and get stored? Yeah, of course, M365, but we're in M365 because it's like a big landscape. Basically, whatever you would create would automatically go and reside in your OneDrive site. Every user has their own OneDrive site, unless you're a user who has logged into now, because we are with university. So there's different plans, etc. with M365, but with schools and university, your OneDrive site would get created only if you click on OneDrive, right? So if you visited OneDrive or you created you created a file and stored, so automatically it's called something which we call as auto provisioning. It will automatically get provisioned at that time. It's not the same everywhere in M365, but with schools and universities, that's how it happens. So every user will get their OneDrive site who has visited OneDrive. We'll talk more about OneDrive when we go to the OneDrive section. But just for your information, all of this new content that you would create would automatically go to your OneDrive site. And then again, there's something which is just made very user-friendly, sort of hints for a person, because let's say somebody, we are in job search term right now. So somebody wants to create resume, cover letters. Things are made just simple. There are ways to do that, right? I can get template from somewhere. Of course, Co-op has its own template and work on it. Or let's say, I want to create it. So what I'll do is I'll go to Word, I'll go to templates, search for cover letter, resume, etc. Or I can make my life much simpler by just coming here and just looking for whatever is available. Like most of the common stuff is there, like college tools. Notice again, this is very respective to college. If let's say you go work for some organization, because again, we are in job search term, and your organization where you are as an intern or you're working, they use M365 as well. They'll not see college tools. They'll see org tools or something like that. So just telling you the difference, that you would observe, because there's niche differences between what you get as a school, what you get as an organization. So yeah, so you can just choose. Somebody wants to create flyer, then again you have options available here as well. Not very extensive, but you can just do a quick start from here. So that's about create, and then I'll go to apps. Like I said, we have a lot of apps that are available. Again, this the way I have grouped it is pretty much the way it maps to what M365 offers to you, like apps under productivity, utility, and notice over here as well, you see OneDrive, Word, etc. in productivity, in utility as well. So they sort of overlap because you can use it for both. And then something which is for EDU, which is education, and then apps for developers. This is one thing which we have not covered because this is something that we won't use as student very often. But it's there. If somebody wants to explore Power Apps, I would say it's amazing, because I've worked very extensively on Power Apps, and I'd be happy to talk about it if somebody is interested in Power Apps. So if you go to all apps, you would see a lot of apps, Kaizala, List, Power Automate, Visio, all of these things. But again, our session is more about making you aware about what you would use as a student frequently. You can use, if you want, you can use other sessions, other apps, but this is what you would usually use. Okay, so next is about Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, etc., which we will talk in a bit. So after the dashboard tour, let me take you through the apps for productivity. So for apps for productivity, these are the apps that I would be talking about: mailing, calendar, bookings, Teams, Whiteboard, and MS Forms. So let's first go to mail. Again, there are many ways to do it. Either you can come from here, the quick launch, or you can go to this burger menu, then from here, or you can just type in Outlook, and it would just, you can access your Outlook. I don't think this needs any introduction. What is Outlook for? We all are aware what is Outlook for. It's for your emails, and we all recommend to use Concordia Outlook, at least since we are in the job search term, or some of us, most of us are students, so it's good practice to use professional email. As a student, this is our professional email, right? If you join some org, they will have the same thing. I guess 80% orgs, as much as I have the latest last statistics, 70 to 80% orgs use Outlook or Exchange Online for their mailing. So it's good to know what is available. Like you see, you have all of your folders. These are the default folders which are there: junk, spam, archive, etc. But let me tell you about the settings that you can do with your Outlook and your calendar. So one thing is about this, I'm not sure how many of us are aware about sorting your mails into focused and other categories. Or don't sort, depends on you. But this is something which I really like, because, and I've been using it ever since this was introduced by Microsoft. The reason is that, let's say that you have email, and your email, there are two things to the email. Either it's directed to you, you're in the portion, or you're a CC, or you're a part of a group or something, or it's a common announcement type of email. So which email would you prefer? You'd always prioritize emails that are directed to you. Then you would see with CC, and then it would be the announcement email. So your announcement emails and other emails that are coming normally would go to the other section. So you see, I see this email from my, from a department, ECSGA, GSA, Concordia. This is for everybody, all the students in this domain. I'm not saying I'm not interested, but this is something which will be a lower priority for me. So it goes in the other, and then I have this focus section. Apart from that, I can do other settings as well. For example, you can do your signatures. I do believe most of you are aware about it. So you just go to your compose, reply, put in your signature, your format, etc. All of this is also available. The next portion that I want to talk about is about the calendar. In the calendar, what I would see is basically my events. I can book my events, I can see my events. So there are again many ways to access your calendar. Either you can come here and just click on it, and then you would see your calendar. You can, again, the best practice is to keep your calendar updated, because you would see in a bit that your calendar is used for a lot of things. So this is one thing which I would like to really focus on. But before I go to calendar, let me talk about what you see on your top, the top link bar. This is also called as top link bar or your app bar. So this is, of course, your settings. We have already seen this. And then you would see calendar to do, which we saw even when we were on the office page, if you remember. So this is like a quick snapshot of what your day looks like. So even if you're on your mail, for example, I'm on my Outlook right now, I would see both. I can still go click on, if you see the icon is like a combination of both of them, a tick and a calendar. So it means to do and calendar together. So you can see this. I can see a quick snapshot of what my day looks like. And then I can also do my to-dos. For example, this is my to-do for whatever I have not done yet, right? So let's say I created these to-dos couple days ago. I would still see it because I have not marked it as complete. I will talk about to-dos in a bit, but yeah, this is how you can quickly access, you can quickly plan your day. Basically, that's what I want to say. You can decide what are the activities that are, you can see your activities in your calendar, plus design your activities for particular day. This is what I do each morning whenever I start my day, is that I just see what's there on my calendar and what's something that I'm focusing on.
So Rancy, we have a question here. So
okay.
now it's pretty cool that you're able to access your to-do and calendar within Outlook. Do you find yourself using it all in one place, or sometimes you go in the specific calendar app, the to-do app? What do you use more often?
If it's a question for me, then I mostly go to my quick access. The reason is that because from here you can see that I can pretty much do everything. I can add a task for myself here. I can, I can just, or a new event, I can even block somebody's calendar from here. And then I can see my to-do. So it's easier for me. Basically, I think that's the whole point of technology. It wants to make your life easier. So for me, this is an easiest option, and this is what I prefer. But yeah, if somebody wants to really know extensive, like for example, I want to see scheduling assistant. I'll talk about scheduling assistant, or I want to see everything. And there's one more cool way, which I'll show, that can also give you a snapshot of what you want to do in a day. Then, of course, I would go to these apps separately. But usually, when I start my day, this is what I do. I just go to that link and see it. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that answers the question. And again, online, if ever you have more questions, let us know, and we'll answer them without an issue.
Sure. Okay, so if we're good, I think we'll move on. I'm not sure how many of you have been curious and used certain things in O365 or M365. There's something called as OneNote feed. Now, what's a OneNote feed? You can see I did some testing, yeah. But let's say that I want to create some note for myself, and then or maybe I just want to create a note. I'm in a class, and I'm just making notes for myself, and then later on, probably I want to share my note with my colleague, or I want to share it with someone else. Then this feature is really helpful. What you can do basically is that very quickly just click on add note, create some note, and then once your note is created and you go to your new email, you can just sort of drop your notes, like it says here, drop your note here. It will just attach your note as an attachment, and you can just send it over to whoever you want to send your note to. So this is again, this particular feature is only an integration available with OneNote and Samsung. There's one more note vendor for notes, which is called as Samsung Notes. There's few note-taking apps that are available, of which there's OneNote and Samsung Notes. So it works with both of them. If somebody is using Samsung Notes, it would work with that as well. And then, of course, you see Teams call and the chat, which you can, again, a quick way to access your join your call or chat with somebody from your top app bar as well. So that's about this quick launch with Outlook that you see. Now let's look at calendar. So let me show you how it looks like. Usually it should look like, if you go to your calendar, you would see something like school week, or maybe you can switch to work whole week, and you would see your calendar, whatever events that are there on your calendar, what you have booked for yourself or with someone, or all of that would be visible. So you can change your views over here, and you can, of course, draft a mail, or you can draft an event. I will come to event in a bit, but let me speak about what you would see, how you can customize this. Now, like I said, there's something else which I really like. So in calendar, there's something called as board view, which is one of my favorite views. And the reason I like this view is that this is, again, one other thing which gives me, everything in one shot. So for example, you can see that I have added my calendar, and it's always, excuse me, it's always updated with, today and the next couple days that I can see. For example, this is something which is my recurring meeting, so I'm seeing over here. So I would see quick snapshot of my calendar. Then I would see tasks, my to-do tasks that I've added for myself, and I would see note, whatever note that I can draft notes for myself from here as well. So if I want to add something more, like there are other features as well. For example, some people like to, have or read inspiration quotes every morning, if not every morning, often. And then some people are very goal oriented. Definitely, I am not one of them, not very goal oriented, somewhat. But let's say that you have some goals that you have set for yourself, or you want to add some sort of collection. So all of that also you can do with add to board. What I have added is just what I do, but if somebody wants to add something extra, that's also possible. For example, if now I'm hovering on show all, you see I can also add weather, I can add clock, I can add some person. It would show, I think, that person's availability. So it's a very customizable page. That's what I'm trying to drive, and something which can be personalized. So both can be achieved with your boards. So I would encourage everybody to at least have a look once, because it's worth. Once you start using it, you would really like it. I mean, I either use this or I use boards. These are the two things that I always use. This is about calendar. I'm just going to take a brief pause and check if somebody wants to has any question before I move to new event. There's really not, this is something which I think most of you have worked on. But if those who have not, I will still walk you through it. But any questions so far about anything that I have talked about? Okay, so if not, then I would just move on with what I can do when I go block a new event. Of course, no explanation or no talk needs to be done for new message. All you would do is draft an email, but with event you can do a lot of things. For example, obviously this is for now two things. One, when I say event, it's not really meeting. It's not meeting. It doesn't always imply a meeting. People think that, oh, event means a meeting, but that's not how it is. I can book an event for myself as well. Sort of reminders. Yeah, we have a lot of, and now I think those who are in co-op, most of us are in co-op, you would have heard this concept of time boxing. So this can be achieved obviously with this. So well, if you're time boxing yourself, right, you don't need to invite somebody for time boxing. You would do it for your own self. You'll say, hey, okay, I get up at 5 a.m. in the morning if somebody gets up at 5 a.m. And then 5 to 6 is my time, me time. I do meditation, I do exercise, etc. That's time boxing, right? So that's something that you would do for yourself. So basically you can create event for yourself, and you can also do meetings for somebody. So when you do something like invite attendees, that's the time you're blocking someone else's calendar also. So obviously this you're aware, so you can do. Now again, meetings can be of couple types. You can have in-person meeting for the which you don't need to have a Teams meeting added, but then I think you must need to add a room, because unless it's a very ad hoc meeting and you're like, hey, let's find a room, we all just have meeting in a common place, then you don't need. But etiquette is that you look for a room if it's a one-to-one, I'm sorry, if it's an in-person meeting, and if it's a team meeting, just drag this button and it would what it would do, it would create a link for a Teams meeting that people can join in when a meeting starts. That's one. The other thing is about what you're seeing over here is my calendar. This is what my day looks like, today's day. But there's something called a scheduling poll. Now, this is something which is very helpful. I used to use, again, old school scheduling assistant. But poll, I guess it was really nice to addition, which is very lightweight, and I think it's very helpful. You don't need to do scheduling assistance because it's as good as scheduling assistant, not that extensive, but it solves your purpose. So for example, I want to let's say have a meeting with Leslie. So you see, first of all, it directly tells you the time, because what it does is takes calendar of two people like mine, or the user. If it's you, then your calendar, and the other person's calendar with whom you're trying to block the meeting with, and then it tries to find which slot is like the slot which is available for both of you. If it's the two of you, if it's multiple, it will try to match everyone's calendar. That's that. And then scheduling poll. Now, if I come over here, you see for at the duration is 30 minutes, and then for today's date, it looks like it's just not giving me any availability, or it's not showing me any poll. If I click on the poll, it will just take me to something called as Find Time dashboard, and this will give me an extensive view of what the poll looks like. So, for example, I want to book a meeting with Leslie on some other day, let's say on 14th. So you see, it just tells me that, okay, it looks like you see a lot of reds, right? Busy, busy, busy. This is basically indicating that Leslie is busy, because I know Leslie because it's just Leslie for me right now, right? Just one person. If it's multiple, probably you won't be able to figure who is busy, but you would be able to figure that this slot is not available for all of you because at least one of them is busy at that time. But what you see in white is a slot which is a common slot which you can book because it looks like there's no one there's no one who's busy at that time. So this is also termed I think some of you have heard this term free busy information. This is free busy. Busy is red, white is free. Think of it that way. Okay, so this is one. The other thing which, like I said, I used to use a lot was scheduling assistant. This gives me a different view, and it's a view which is many of the people who have been using Outlook for many years are used to. They'll go to scheduling assistant, they'll add folks, and then they'll say, oh, okay, what time is available? Because it's very intuitive, right? I know, okay, 9 to 11, she's busy. Okay, I have this slot. So that sort of thing. So why I have covered this, some people would be wondering why. The reason is I'm covering this is that this is a must too when you're working in a professional environment. A ESP, when you have to, let's say I want to say to, I go join some organization, and I even if it's my mentor, because everybody would get some mentor or a coach or a trainer when you join an organization, and you want to know something or learn something from them, and they say, hey, just look at my calendar and book it. By look at my calendar, they mean that just see the free busy information and book it. So I just wanted to walk you through these couple options which are available. I encourage you to guys to just have a tour at least once if you have not used this before. Okay, so that's about calendar. But if there is some information that you think that is not covered and you want to know, like Nick said, you feel free to drop us a ping on our channel or email. Anything works, and we can definitely clarify that for you. But this is this is, I thought, which is something which I could cover, which we all should know. There are many more features that are available. It's not restrictive to what I've showed. So if you discover something which you don't understand or want to know more, feel free to just let us know about it. And then you see people, this is your contact. This is basically something which we also call as GAL, Global Address List. It would show you people in your org. You can search. There are other ways to search, like I said, that I would be covering findability. But if you want to search for somebody, some person, this is contextual to just your contacts, people in your organization, or there is some, if you want to search some specific group, so it's restricted. And you can not just user, you can also look for some meeting rooms, etc., which I don't know how many of you are aware, but even the meeting rooms are basically an entity in your organization's directory. They are not just meeting rooms. When it comes to your GAL or global address list, meeting rooms are also an entity, just like a user is an entity. Mailbox is an entity. Everything is an entity. But yeah, it's for a separate session if somebody wants to know about that. So yeah, this is where you can search for people. Okay, so I think we have covered quite a bit with calendar and mail. Let's now go to something called as bookings. I'm not going to cover, extensively, because booking is a very extensive feature. But this is something which I was not sure if many of you are aware that this is possible even, or this is available to Concordia students. So I thought, worthwhile to at least drop a note about it, just to tell everybody that, hey, this is available. So what is booking? I'm sure at least once you might have seen people, or when you're looking for job postings, or maybe you've come across something on some job search site. There are some recruiters who just put a link to Calendly, right? And they say, hey, look at my availability on Calendly. So that's, again, it's of course not very extensive, but bookings is somewhat similar to that. If I want to publish, in short, If I want to publish my availability, what do I mean by my availability? My calendar's availability, which is my O365 calendar that we were looking at, or M365 calendar. I want to publish my availability not just to people in my school, but I want it to be available to anyone, basically, even the anonymous folks. I want them to see and book something with me. Yeah, it's like an org, right? Like I'm some person working for an organization. I want somebody to see my availability. That's what Calendly does, right? It shows you the availability, and then you just book someone's availability. You can do pretty much that thing even with M365 bookings. Before I show you that, I want to tell you, once you create a booking, like you see this test Rancy, you cannot delete it by yourself. So I recommend don't test it. It's not for your testing. I mean, I did it, but because I'll have to go to my to our Concordia IT department to get this deleted, because this feature is deletion is only available with admin access, which we don't have. We are students. We don't have admin access. So if you create it wisely. Don't give a name like Test Rancy like I gave. Give something which is meaningful, like your full name or something, and then do it. Now let's see what it looks like. So I've already created, no big deal to it. Click on plus create. I'm not doing it right now because next booking that I create, I want to do it better. I can go to IT every time. So let me show you what I already have. So this is what it looks like, right? It shows me my calendar for today. I can definitely change the view. So for this to work, just remember that this works very closely to your calendar that we looked at here, right? This calendar, Outlook calendar. So you must keep your calendar updated. If you want to use this booking feature, publish your availability. Rule number one, your availability should be updated. It shouldn't be out of date. You don't want to tell to people, somebody books something with you and you cancel it, because I don't think we have reached that stage right now that we can cancel, right, some bookings. So please keep your calendar updated. If it's updated, then what happens is you would see something called as booking page. Now, this is where I would say, because these other stuff, customer staff, is not for us. It's for people. It's for somebody who's doing their teams. Usually it's used within teams. Like when I used to work for Microsoft, our team used to have our own booking page, and in that we had added our team members, and we used to see everyone's slot and all that easier way. I don't want to go to scheduling assistant every time and see somebody. So if I wanted to see my teams availability or whatever, that's the time we used to use booking. For us, why I'm introducing is that you want to just use booking, or you want some feature where you can publish your availability, then instead of purchasing something, or I don't know, maybe you can purchase, but something which is freely available, why not use that? So bookings is free for at least till the time you're a student. It's free for you. So once you go there, you would see a link, like it's an OVA link. Now this link you can change. When you create booking for the first time, it would be set automatically to available to people in your organization, which is like your colleagues or your professors. But if you want this to be published to external outside of Concordia, then you'll have to make it available to anyone. That's what I have done with this calendar. Once you do it, basically it would show you. Let me copy this and show you in a different browser. So if I go over here, you would see something like this, because I've set this setting of 30 minutes. You would see mostly, at least I have observed in my experience, that recruiters would have booked it to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Of course, technical interviews can last more than that, but usually recruiters would be having their availability anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. So you can change this setting again from here. Default scheduling policy. So this is something which, for example, I can change it to 20 minutes, whatever. So when a person will book your calendar or see your calendar, they would know that, okay, this meeting would last for max 30 minutes. That's how it's to be read. And then you'll see your calendar, you or the other person on the other end would see your calendar, and this is where they'll see the slot. For me, all of this is available and it's showing me. Like I said, it needs to be updated, and this information. Now I'm going to talk about something very important. So if you plan to use it, don't use it yet. That's why you see I have not created my own booking yet, because there's certain things to it. What are we doing here? We're capturing someone's name, email address. This is privacy, folks. So we can just go and say, hey, give me your email address, because the person doesn't know what you would do with their email. It's a PII, which is, what is PII? It's a personally identifiable information. You cannot just capture PII just because it's you want to, you want someone to book some meeting with you, because in the end they don't know how you would be using their email address. So whenever we do any such sort of thing, or maybe you create your portfolios or whatever, and you have this sort of page for you, please remember that you need to have a privacy and terms and conditions as well. I attended a course which was very useful. It talked about a link which I don't have it handy. Maybe me and Nick can paste it later on, that you can use to generate privacy statements, and how you would be using. So basically, you would see some tab called as customer data usage here. Note that you have to put your terms here. You can't just leave it blank the way I have. I have left it blank because I was testing and I wanted to show this to you. So this is very briefly about what bookings can do for you. You can publish your calendar. You can have users book your calendar, and then they can also create meetings with you, and then you can conduct meetings with people outside of your school as well, or your university as well. What are the settings? How you can customize? What more you can customize? I don't think this session is enough for that. So maybe if you really want to know, maybe we can have a separate session on bookings. Okay, so that's about bookings. And then finally, I think one other thing about productivity was whiteboard. This is real quick. I am sure most of you have already seen it. So you just go to apps, whiteboard, and it will open whiteboard. Why it is used, like the name suggests, for you want to jot down something, you're in a project meeting, you're explaining some concept to somebody, you're jotting down ideas, etc., whatever. You need a whiteboard. So that's available from here. Whiteboards, those who have used Teams, have conducted team meetings, will realize that even in team meetings, while we are on the meeting, we can add whiteboards. And that's very cool. So it integrates with this. Whatever whiteboards that you create, just to reiterate, it will get stored in your own OneDrive site. Okay, so that's about that. I think this ends our portion for apps for productivity. Now, apps for utility. This is in this you see Office apps and Sway. I believe this is something which Office apps, most of us are aware. Like I said, when you go to create, you can just go to create document, workbook. What's part of Office? I'm sure most of you are aware. Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Visio, Publisher, all these are part of Office. Most used are OneNote as well. So most of the most used app from Office are for OneNote, PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. So if I click on, let's say, Word here, you see it opened a blank document. Where is it? So you see, observe the URL. It's on my own OneDrive site, r_Chadha, and the domain, right? So that's where it's and then it opens, and it's auto save. The good thing about this is I can just type anything, it will just keep on saving. It gives a default name to the document. You want to be aware about this. You do everything, and then you don't bother about the name, and you'll end up creating a lot of document 1, document 2, document 3. Not an awesome idea. So just come here and just rename your document to whatever you're doing, and then you would see most of the ribbon. This is ribbon, obviously. Most of the ribbon options are pretty much or very close to what you would also find on your desktop app. But it's a trimmed down version of what you would see in your desktop app. So if I want to you edit this same file. I've opened the file on my web app or on my online. Now I want to edit in my desktop. Very easy. Just go to your editing over here on the top right hand side, and then click on open in desktop app. It will just open the file in your desktop app, and then from there you can use full on features. Here I just want to, now I'm just talking about Word, folks. It is for everything. PowerPoint, Excel. I'm not going to walk through it. I'm sure most of you have seen it. Nick has been taking or giving awesome tech tips on Excel. So I'm pretty sure most of you have used Excel, PowerPoint. So I think this suffices. So here what I want to tell is about the autosave option. This is automatically set to on. So you don't have to worry about Control S or saving your files. But if it's off, for example, I turn it off, then you have to be careful and save your document. So make a note. It doesn't take more than a second to just glance over to this autosave option on the top left-hand side. Ensure it's set to on so that you can just freely, keep editing your documents or your content. The other features, noteworthy features, are co-authoring. I think you know about it. Same document can be used or can be worked by multiple people. Conflict management is resolved by Office by itself. So all those features are also available. You can do commenting from here on your files, and all those features are available from online itself. You don't have to go to your desktop version for using these features. So this is about Office, and then comes Sway. As you see, you have been seeing that I have been using Sway to show this, and I didn't use PowerPoint because, of course, all I had to do is, this is a workshop, and we were mostly focusing on learning about features. So I didn't need a full-blown presentation. So then I thought I need something very light and simple, where I just want to show what's being covered, and that's all, like a storyline, basically story for today's meeting or whatever, today's workshop. So I use Sway. So what's Sway? How do you do it? Same, go to app and click on Sway. Once you click on Sway, it will take you to Sway. Sway in single liner, it's available for users to create a storyline. Your storyline could be anything. Your storyline could be about your project. Your storyline could be about piece of work that you have worked on, or something technical that you achieved, and then you want to showcase it. You don't have too much animation or anything. Just very simply, you want to walk people through highlights of something, right? So for that, Sway is used. When you go to Sway, you would see a lot of options. For example, if I click on more templates, I would see the templates available. So people use it for even creating their portfolios. Portfolios is for the same purpose, right? You would have something about you, you will have something about your project, something about your work experience, achievement, and all of that in a single page. Users have to just keep on scrolling, or downwards, or maybe left, right, and just see your story. So anything where you want to tell a story, Sway is a feature that you can use. So once you create a Sway, there are certain settings that you can do. For example, if I just click on it and click start editing, it will just create an default Sway, because I'd use this food related Sway story, whatever. Let's say I went on vacation and it was an awesome place. I did a lot of eating. It was maybe for a food travel or something, and then I wanted to tell a story. So maybe Sway is something that can come to rescue. So once you come over here, you would see some settings, like you can play it, you can share it with somebody, and then you can work on its settings as well. So let's say if I go to settings, and then if you see, by default, it's always scrolled downwards. If I want to use left, right, I can do that. My own Sway that I'm using for this workshop is on set to right to left. And then you can either do other settings. You can let it play automatically. You don't have to do any user intervention. All those stuff is also available in Sway. Yeah, I think that's about Sway. If anybody has any question, feel free to ask about Sway. I know it's not one of the very known product of M365, but well, it's there, and people do use it for quick meetings, etc., for showcasing their achievements, etc. People use Sway as well, and then the next thing. We have done with the utility. The next thing is about the content management, and this takes us to one of my favorite topics, SharePoint OneDrive, because I was when I was in Microsoft, this was my SME area. I was a subject matter expert for SharePoint and OneDrive, so that's why I love this these products. But yeah, what are they used for? Right now, people think it's used for content management or for storage, but there's a lot of things that you can do with SharePoint and OneDrive. What can you do? Let me first start with OneDrive. So when you click on OneDrive, first of all, is your own personal website. How do you know that? If you see the URL, you would see the term personal. That's one way to distinguish between what's your personal OneDrive site versus what's your SharePoint team site. We'll talk about team sites in a bit. SharePoint site is also a team site. Every team that you create by default gets a site, and that's a team site. So what does the site do? A lot of things. One of them is storage, not only storage. It's not just storage, it's a lot of other things. But in your OneDrive, you would see, I have created, my content is here. What can I do with my content? I'll talk about these other features of the quick launch in a bit, but once my content is here, I can, of course, the one thing that I mentioned was that whenever you create a new content or your meeting content, etc., goes by default in your, unless it's a team meeting, which we'll cover in team session. Now, for example, if Nick is recording this Teams meeting, the recording will not go to Nick's OneDrive site or my OneDrive site. It would go to Teams OneDrive site. But let's say it's a one-on-one meeting, right? Or a meeting that I created with various folks, and I start recording it. That meeting would go and get saved in my OneDrive site. So just an FYI about meeting storage, apart from just the content storage of OneDrive. And then after that, you can see on the top, you can upload something from your local system, etc. You can do sync. I'll come to it in a bit. And you can do automate. What's Power Automate? You remember I said there are a couple more dev features, Power Automate and Power Apps. You can actually create a workflow or Power Automate flow with your content. Let's say that I have a document, I work in an organization, and I have a big approval process for it. After I create it, it should go to my manager. From my manager, it should go to okay, ignore that. After I create a document, it should go to my project manager. My project managers reviews it and say, hey, it looks okay. Let me give it to my program manager. So, that goes through a cycle. It's just not that I create a document, hey, well, I can publish it. Before I publish it, goes through various approvals. It can get approved, it can get rejected, etc. If I want to do that sort of extensive thing, workflow on my documents, then I will use Power Automate for that. Would love to take a session on this. Let us know if you want me to take a session, and I'll show you how this works. It's really amazing. People use it all the time. So that's what you can do with your files, with your things in your OneDrive site. And then you can sync. What sync? I think most of us are aware. Every cloud product has an offline sync. You work on Google Drive. I don't know if I can ask this question, but about storage, I said that, we are storing files here. Google has its own storage. You go to Google Drive, it gives you storage. You can sync it with Google Drive as well. You can sync it, some people sync using Dropbox. You can also sync with Apple Cloud. I'm using my Apple Cloud sync as well on my with my phone. But you can also do sync with your OneDrive. So once you would see a cloud icon. I hope it's visible. I'm hovering over it. You see two cloud icons on your task bar. One is blue color, other is white color. It's the way to distinguish what's your OneDrive for your school versus what's your personal OneDrive. I have my own personal OneDrive, consumer OneDrive as well. So I'm seeing that. I have synced that as well. So once I sync it, I would see something like this. I hope you guys can see my Windows Explorer. So if I go over here, I see two OneDrives here. OneDrive-Concordia University, Canada. And that's my own OneDrive. If I click on it, I would see, all of my files pretty much synced to what I see on my cloud version, right? So remember, whatever changes that you make, it's a little technical, but I still want to drop a word about it. Cloud is always going to be your master. So any changes that happen should be there on the cloud, which by cloud I mean on your OneDrive site. If something is not there on your OneDrive site, it's there only on your desktop, it means it's not synced. There is some issue to it. You got to troubleshoot. Go to IT, come to me, whatever, we can troubleshoot. But that's how it works, right? And then you have OneDrive. This is again personal OneDrive that I'm using. You see something called as Concordia University here. It's not the cloud icon, but a different, I think a building, org icon basically. That's basically indicating it's your team site. It's not your OneDrive site. Okay, so I'm syncing one of my project, folders. So why I'm syncing. Why does a person sync? You're traveling, you don't have access to internet, you have to work, your deadline is coming, it's approaching, and you just want to keep working on it. The moment you reach university, you'll have a Wi-Fi, your things would get synced up, and your colleagues, your professors can see your work. So that's the advantage of an offline sync. It's pretty much same for any product. OneDrive is no special to that, but I just wanted to introduce that you can do this with OneDrive. You can sync with OneDrive as well. Apart from that, you can do other things. For example, I can move and copy as well. For example, I want to copy my file to some other folder. I can do directly from the site. Or let's say I want to copy it to some other site. Let's say I want to copy one of my file to my project site. Then I can go and it will show me documents library, and I can do that as well. So that's about OneDrive. Now question, I was talking about it. How much storage do we get with OneDrive? How much can you store? Can you store 15 GB? Can you store 10 GB? Anybody guess, like how much can we store? I would say it's even a close to guess, Nick, but FYI, everyone in OneDrive gets 1 TB of storage, 1 terabytes. So 5 GB, 1 terabyte recap, but we all get 1 TB, and I can prove it. So let me go proving it. So I go to my gear icon on the top. I go to my OneDrive settings, and then once the setting comes up, I go to more settings. And you can explore these features. Right now, I'll just talk about the storage. Click on storage metrics, and you see here, right, 1024 gigs, which is equal to 1 TB. So you get 1 TB. So you have you can store a lot of things in your OneDrive. I mean, if you really have your your meeting recordings, it's something which is just for you, and you really want a place to store something, at least till the time you're in the university, I would say just go use it. I use it because if it's free for me, why shouldn't I use it? So it's there. Apart from that is something I want to talk about, restore your OneDrive. I deleted something. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about crypto lockers or ransomware. Your PC or your site somehow, or your file somehow got attacked by ransomware, and now they're all encrypted. When you open them, nothing opens. It asks for a ransom amount, right? So this feature will allow you to roll back. So let's say it gives me yesterday, 1 week, 3 weeks, I can use custom date. It will allow me to roll back to a date which is available. By default, it's 30 days. 30 days, I can roll back anything if I want to. So that's available in both OneDrive and SharePoint. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, let's say that I delete something. Where does it go? It goes in the recycle bin. I do have something. There are 2 recycle bins. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I'll talk about it in a separate session. But these are very useful. If I delete from here, it can go to second stage. How long does it stay? Who can see it? very technical. We can cover it in a separate session. But if you accidentally delete your file, this is one place, come and look for your files. Okay, that's that. And then the SharePoint site, like I said, let me first go to the SharePoint. Click on the SharePoint icon. You see SharePoint.aspx. This is not your SharePoint site. I mean, it's a site, SharePoint.com, but it's not a full-blown site. It is a page under your SharePoint, which we also call as root site in Microsoft terms. So in your root site, you also have a page. This page will show you all your sites that you have accessed, you have made your favorite. Whatever quick content that you have is a snapshot over here. Right, every team site gets their site, and what's there in a site? Let me just take you to one of the site very quickly. It will show you a lot of things: conversations, your documents, your notebook. I would say this is something which I can cover. I can take one whole session on SharePoint site. Let me know if you're interested. We can do that. But remember, this is a storage for your teams. Any project that you're doing as a team will get stored under this, not your OneDrive site. Okay, so with this, our next, okay, Delve. Now, if I go to my, I promise that I will show you something. So if I go to my picture and I click on my M365 profile, this takes me to place or to a feature called as Delve. Delve is nothing but analytics. It will show me all of the people I'm collaborating with, content that's available with me and people I'm collaborating with. I can change my settings from here. So you see my picture and update my profile, and I can change my skill, expertise. I can add my birthday. All these things I can do myself. I don't have to go to IT to do this. So this is the advantage of Delve. Update your information, plus check your colleagues' information, or you check the files that you have worked with your colleagues. All of those analytics is available in one place, which is called as Delve. Okay, awesome. So I think with this, we have reached to the end of the session, which is findability. I'm not sure if, it will just take me 5 minutes to do it. Sorry for extending the session, but, I thought this is worthwhile to know what we can do. So let me talk about findability. Findability is nothing but searching. Difference is that search is like you can search for anything. But do you get the content back, relevant content back or not? Findability is that. I search for something and I get relevant content. That means that thing is findable, the content that I'm searching for. So I can search for things from, I'm going to close a lot of things here and just be on my page office. Now, if I search for something, I can search for in my office portal, or I can search in my SharePoint. Also, let's say I search for a document called as project. I mean, some project, right? Just a project. So whatever I see are the files that are there with the keyword project in their title, in their content, and not just the files. I'll also see people. Well, people cannot have project name, but it looks like maybe some mailbox, maybe some booking, or something was created, or some group was created with that name. So that's showing as people. I will see. I see some sort of verticals, files. So I can see just the files over here. I don't want to see everything. Sites, only sites related to the word project. People, again, some things created with this, and these all look like to me as maybe group sites, that were created with project, but I do see that. News, any news with that word, I don't see any news, and then any images that I might have. Now, this is something which is very security or authorization, tightly bound with authorization, which means that whatever content that I see is something that I have access to. If I don't have access to it, I will not see it. As simple as that. It's called as security trimming in SharePoint. So it's or in words of M365, everything is related to the access that you have. This is one place. Now notice that I just see content basically. What if I want to see or find files that are or find some things in my mailbox as well? So for that, I can use messages over here, which I can see only from my office.com. So if I have to choose between searching from which place, whether should I search from SharePoint or should I search from my office portal, I would say office portal. Go with that because it's your home page, it's your landing, and you would see content from your SharePoint, you would see content from your mailbox, everything in one place. So this is searching for content, your Outlook, your Teams. You see Teams also over here. Your chat is also showing up over here. So Outlook and Teams are combined in messages. Makes sense, right? In Teams also you do a message. Chat is a message. And mails is obviously a message. So all of that you would see over here. So Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, all in one place. Search from your office.com main page. Finally, is about Bing. I know many people don't use it because we love Google, but find some benefit with Bing as well. You see there's an option called a school. School, it means it's tied up to our university. Here I can search for people over here. So for example, I want to search for my professor, Yako. Now, while looking for him, well, I want to see content, know about Yako, maybe. Professor Yako, I want to, now this is on this is from the web. Okay, so be watchful about your tabs, your verticals here. But let's say I will go to school. When I go to school, I would see content related to Professor Yako or Professor Lee. So first thing I see is information about him, his contact information. It's not updated because, well, not every professor you would see. There are other professors for whom it is updated. So if you want to see somebody's room number, somebody's extension, phone extension, etc., it's there. You want to see their calendar. This is something which we would find useful. So you would see their calendar. Let me show you one of my other professor, Professor Pankroff. So use for him. I also see his office number. So if I want to visit him, I have blocked, let's say, I know his open office hours, but I forgot his room number. Either I can go to Moodle, go to Outline, look for him, or I can go to Bing very quickly, check for the professor and find his room number. And then I can see his calendar also. But I would say stick to what they have published on Moodle, because what you see available does not mean it's for you. He's a professor, but that you can do this with your colleagues, with your peers, right? You can just check their calendar. Quick way, you don't have to go to your Outlook calendar. Go to Bing, look for the person, you'll see the calendar. You would see groups that you both have common or they're part of. Now, there are certain things which are not published, like classes, because I don't think Concordia has associated classes with Bing. That's why it's not showing, but that's possible. There would be some schools who might be using this feature as well. And then you would see also the files for which, for example, this file. I think it has some information related to Professor Pankroff. That's why it's showing up over here. It might be in the metadata. What is metadata? Like title, author, etc. Or it would be in the content, or it would be title, something. So you see even the files over here. Similarly, you can go to people. You can look for people, sites, etc. From similar stuff, messages that you would see from your M365. So with that, it takes us to the end of the session. Sorry, I dragged it for some time because it was quite a lot of features for me to cover. And I know I would have just skimmed through a lot of things as well. But this gives us an opportunity for you to reflect on what was done. You know now what are the features that are available to us as students, but you also know what are the features that you would like to know more about, you would like to go deep into. And me and Nick are more than happy to schedule any of the features that you would like to know about, and we can take a session on that. Our next session, I think Nick can tell more about it, but it's going to be on Teams. But if you need something else, we are more than happy to cover. So that's all from me. Thank you so much. Nick, sorry, you have a question.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't see any questions online, okay. And in the room, no, none from the room. Okay. But I do have one actually, maybe to wrap it up, and it's perfect because my favorite thing about having access to all these resources as a Concordia student has been, you know, that the collaborative feature. When you think, I think back to my first semesters, everyone would use Google Slides, for example, to prepare group presentations. And I've always been a big fan of PowerPoint, and that became problematic. And when I learned about these resources and the fact that you could use SharePoint to collaborate on the same PowerPoint with your colleagues, your students, that was, I mean, I don't know if life changing is a too big of a word for it, but I found it life changing, where you could take advantage of all the PowerPoint has to offer and still use it for a group project. That was really great. But I do have a question sort of related to that in terms of syncing. Let's say I have a colleague and I who are working on a Word document at the same time, but I have to leave and I continue to work on it offline, but he's still working on it. When I connect to the Wi-Fi, how do they merge versions? How does that work?
I would say that's an amazing question. So merging depends on a lot of factors. Colleague worked on the same section as you were working on, or maybe he's worked. You also worked, but you were offline. And then when you come online, Word or Sync client. So I didn't cover in detail, but like I said, I can cover later. Sync has two ways it syncs. Either it would use Office. Office has its own built-in sync capability, and Sync client has. So Office would use its own sync capability to sync it. And then if it realizes there's a conflict, what would happen is that you would see a yellow bar. You would see a yellow bar on your file. The moment you come online, it would try to see, can I upload your changes or not? If it's there's no conflict, it will just smoothly get uploaded. If it's not, then you would see two things. One, if your file is still open, you would see a yellow color bar on the top, and your sync cloud icon would show you a message, that it's like a cross or something. When you hover over that, it would tell you that there is a merge conflict on the file with the file name. And then, of course, you will have to, this merging is the same thing which happens the same or any other software repository. Then you will have to work with your colleague to see that whether whose changes you want to keep. That's one. The other thing is that it would also give you an option keep to both versions. So you can even decide, excuse me, to keep both the versions. If you don't want to keep, you're like, don't have time to merge and decide whose changes needs to be merged, then probably you can go with the other option, which says keep both the versions of the file. I didn't talk about versioning, Nick, because I thought these are very, very intrinsic features, and these they are worth their own sessions. So that's why that was not covered. But yeah, that's what you would experience if you go online with your conflicts.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the clarification. Thank you to those who joined online and in person. We look forward to the next tech session, which tech workshop, which will most likely be right after the March break. But before then, we do have a few other P2P committee events, so stay tuned on the P2P channel for what's to come. Other than that, again, thank you very much, Rancy, for hosting this session. Of course, this is I feel like it's just the surface of what we can cover. Of course, we can go so much in depth about everything, but this was a very valuable session to let the students know that, as a Concordia student, you have access to these for free. And now is the time to take advantage of them, and they will really be of help for your school projects, and you can even play around to get used to things and learn new things, because even beyond school, when you get in your organization and your professional career, you'll be using these on a daily basis. So time to get started if you haven't already. And of course, as Rancy said a few times, we're here to help with our tech workshop. So if you want to learn anything specific, let us know, and we'll consider that for a future workshop or a tech tip. So that's it from both of us. Thank you very much once again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.